everyone. Hopefully, you will be fine and enjoying the course of life. I am Rana Abdurrahman, and our today's topic is to discuss and demonstrate warehouse locations, how to configure them in Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations in terms of what setups are required to create a warehouse location. Warehouse location corresponds to the specific places where inventory can be stored in a particular warehouse. You must create warehouse locations so that you can perform and track inbound and outbound warehouse transactions using Dynamics 365. In this demo, I will demonstrate how to set up the parameters that are required to create a warehouse location, such as location types, location formats, dock management profiles, location profiles, and warehouse zones. The first thing is the location type. As this name suggests, it's type of warehouse location. For example, you can create a location for staging, bay door, receiving area, etc. Once types are created here, next you can default these types to warehouse management parameters form, which we will be discussing in the next video while discussing warehouse management parameters. Location format is the second thing. The naming convention for location, you can specify how many segments the name should include and the length of each segment. You can also specify the separator that is used to separate the segments. Maximum size is 10, including the separators. Dock management profile, the settings which help you control inventory items for multiple orders, shipments, loads, or rails at the docks. When inbound items are received or the outbound items are loaded. It's the optional area. We will not be focusing on this in today's demo. Location profile is the next thing. The settings which specify whether a particular warehouse location is license plate controlled, whether it can be cycle counted, and whether it allows for mixing of inventory batches is the location profile. Warehouse zone, another optional thing. It is a dedicated defined area in a warehouse to which you allocate specific inventory items. In hierarchy, it comes before the warehouse location, which means a zone can contain multiple locations. To familiarize this easily, let's take a real life example of a departmental store. Groceries, electronics, clothes, etc. can be treated as the zones, and aisle 1, rack 1, shelf 1, bin 2 can be treated as a location. Location profile. It is one of the most important setup for warehouse management processes to run efficiently. Every location in the warehouse needs to have a location profile associated with it. That describes the properties of the location, for example, whether a location allows mixed items. In this demo, we will create a profile for location that does not require license plate control and one that requires license plate control. We will enable mixed items, mixed inventory statuses, and allow cycle counting. Let's move to the Dynamics 365 and create a location. As we discussed earlier, the first thing we should consider is the location type. So let's create a location type. In warehouse management setup, warehouse node, we will find the location types. So let's create a new location here for this demo purposes. Let's create a demo. So as the next step, let's create a location format. Let's go again to the Dynamics, warehouse management, and the location format. So as discussed earlier, the naming convention for location is called location format. You can specify how many segments the name should contain and the length of each segment. You can also specify the separator that is used to separate the segments. So here in our example, ARSB is a location format where it denotes A for the aisle, R for the rack, S for the shelf, and B for the bin. So here we have described oil with the two length digit. It's separated by A. Rack with two and using separator R. Shelf denotes S and its length is 1. And bin denotes 1 and its length is 1 and its length is separator is B. So here below you can see how the location name will be looking like if we are using this format. For the demo purposes, we will create a simple one with the name default. Default, default, and our segment description will be again default, and length will be 10. Done. Next, let's go to the document management profiles. This is an optional area. If you need to manage the docs, you can create this. Here, the doc management ID and the description, you will providing a description, and here you will specify on which inventory types the items should not be mixed. And here, if you mark this as the enable this setting, assume empty location for the new wave, it means that the system will be will consider this as a empty location. Our next optional setup is the warehouse zones. If you have some dedicated rooms, dedicated locations for instead of locations, let's say if you have some dedicated area within a warehouse that can be defined as a zone. A defined area in the warehouse to which you allocate specific inventory items is called warehouse zone. So zones do have warehouse zone groups. So zones can also be grouped in the warehouse zone groups. So, and for today's demonstration, we will not be covering zones. Anyhow, I will just explain what this means. So there's a bulk zone area, then bulk 06, floor, pick zone 1, pick zone 2, pick zone 3. In these zones, there will be multiple locations in the warehouse. So as discussed earlier, the location profile is the most important setup for the warehouse management. It controls the locations and how those locations will be behaving in the system. You must specify attributes for a warehouse location to determine how a warehouse location is used in an inbound or the outbound transaction. For example, you can specify if a location allows negative inventory or cycle counting. You can use location profiles to define the dimensions of the location. So let's go and create a location profile. Warehouse management module, setup, warehouses node, and location profiles. For the demo purposes, let's create a new one. Default, default LP. So LP will be for the license plate tracking. And here in the location format, we can select the default one. And next in the location type, we will be selecting the demo. Since I denoted this as LP, so use license plate tracking will be turned on. I will be also using for the mix items. I will be also using for the mix statuses. We will allow cycle counting for this location. Save. So here on the below dimensions area, you can specify the storage unit which will be used for these locations associated with this profile. The volume utilization percentage, the volume method used for the inventory location. You can use the dimensions, you can use the volume. For the dimensions, you have height, actual height, usable height, actual width and usable width, actual depth and usable depth, and the maximum weight. Let's save this one and create a new non-LP location. Default one. This ID should be unique. Default NLP. I will be using same format and I'll be using same type. Since it's NLP, so we will not be tracking license plate, but we will be allowing negative inventory here. We will be allowing mixed items and the mixed batch statuses, and we will also allow cycle counting. Allow cycle counting. Select this checkbox to allow cycle counting at the specified locations. When this checkbox is marked, the locations associated with this profile ID will be available for selection in the counting plan. If this is not marked, so the locations which will be specified later on with this profile ID will not be available for cycle counting. And same goes for the mixed batches, the mixed inventory statuses. And allow negative will only work when the license plate tracking is off. Till now, we have created multiple setups and all completed all the required setups for the location. So we have created location type, location format, and then one location profile for the license plate tracks and the other one for the non-license plate tracked items. So let's go and create the location itself. In order to create the location, we have to go to the warehouse management module, setup, warehouse node, and locations. Click new, provide the warehouse ID, provide the location ID. Like here, I will be specifying R 001 and provide the location profile ID. Let's create another location R-002 for non-license plate tracked items and specify the location profile ID as DEFA default one, which is non-license plate tracked. So we have created two locations, one for the default as a license plate tracked location R-001 and the other one R-002, which is the default one, which means it's not a license plate tracked location. So till now in today's session, we have discussed and learned about what are the location types, how we can define the location type, how we can format the location ID, high level of the doc management profiles, and detailed location profiles, and high level of the warehouse zones. Thank you for watching. Thanks for your time. If you have any further queries, you can discuss in the comments below. Please subscribe to this channel to get more about the Dynamics 365. In the last video, if you have watched my previous video, in that video we configured this 11 from a standard warehouse to use the advanced functionalities. So while updating it from the standard to advanced, we have enabled one location from standard to advanced warehousing location. So right now in this session we have created two more locations for this. So in next video we will be covering more related topics like creating of work, location directives and wave templates, etc. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Thank you.